Have you ever felt like the world was against you? Like you're stuck in a storm with no shelter in sight? Do you ever wonder why pain hits so hard and lingers so long? If you've ever questioned your strength, your purpose, or your ability to keep going, this message is for you. This feeling of being overwhelmed, of questioning one's own resilience in the face of adversity, is a universal human experience. It's the gnawing doubt that creeps in when things go wrong, the weight that settles on your shoulders when challenges seem insurmountable. We often feel isolated in these moments, believing that our struggles are unique, that others navigate life's complexities with effortless grace, while we are constantly buffeted by the winds of misfortune. This perception, however common, is a fallacy. Everyone faces storms. Everyone feels pain. The difference lies not in avoiding the challenges, but in how we perceive and respond to them. Before we dive deep into a mindset that has withstood centuries, a philosophy forged in the fires of real-world difficulty by thinkers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, do me a favor. Consider joining this community. Subscribe, not just for content, but for clarity, courage, and a community that refuses to give up. You're not alone here. The journey of self-mastery and resilience is far more effective and encouraging when shared. Learning to navigate the choppy waters of life is a skill, and like any skill, it requires practice, guidance, and the support of others walking a similar path. Together, we can explore these ideas, share our experiences, and build the internal fortitude needed to face whatever comes our way. Let's grow stronger, together. Now take a deep breath. Let go of the tension held in your shoulders, in your jaw, and hear this truth. Life doesn't owe us comfort. The universe operates according to its own vast, indifferent laws. It offers change, challenges, and the entirely unexpected with relentless impartiality. It does not discriminate in delivering setbacks, loss, or difficulty. This can be a jarring realization in a world that often promises happiness as a constant state achievable through external means. But Stoicism doesn't promise constant comfort. It offers something far more valuable: resilience and inner peace, despite the lack of external comfort. Through it all, through the ups and downs, the triumphs and tragedies, you remain. Your consciousness, your capacity for reason, your inner core that persists. That's the heart of Stoicism. The profound and empowering idea that while life unfolds however it chooses, presenting us with a myriad of circumstances largely outside our direct control, our response to those circumstances is where our true power lies. This is the famous dichotomy of control, distinguishing between what is up to us, our judgments, desires, aversions, actions, and what is not up to us, everything else: health, reputation, wealth, the actions of others, external events. So, when you're feeling low, lost, overwhelmed, or like everything's falling apart, remember this fundamental Stoic principle: everything external is temporary. The pain you feel today, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, is a sensation, a state. It has a beginning and an end. It won't last forever. Neither will the moments of intense joy, exhilaration, or success. Joy and sorrow, triumph and defeat, gain and loss are just passing waves on the vast, deep ocean of life. They crest and they fall, constantly in motion, constantly changing. But you are not the wave. You are the ocean itself. The ocean contains the waves, experiences their motion, but is not defined or destroyed by any single one. Your core self, your capacity for reason and virtue, is the enduring element. Recognizing the temporary nature of external circumstances and internal sensations allows us to loosen their grip, to see them as transient phenomena rather than defining realities. This perspective, cultivated through Stoic practice, is the first step towards finding stillness and strength in the midst of life's inevitable storms. It is a mindset shift that moves us from being tossed about by the waves to becoming the stable, unyielding body of water upon which they play out their temporary existence. Number 1. Embrace the temporary. One of the most freeing, albeit initially challenging, truths you can accept is this: everything changes. The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus famously said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man." 1. While not a Stoic, this captures a fundamental reality that Stoicism fully embraces regarding the external world, its constant state of flux. Stoicism teaches us that a significant source of human suffering stems from our resistance to this inherent impermanence. We cling to pleasant experiences, relationships, possessions, states of health, and moments of success, wishing they would last forever. Simultaneously, we desperately resist unpleasant experiences, pain, loss, failure, difficult emotions, wishing they would vanish immediately and never return. This clinging and resisting creates tension, anxiety, and dissatisfaction because it is fundamentally fighting against the natural order of the universe. When we stop clinging, when we loosen our desperate grip on the highs and cease our forceful pushing away of the lows, we find a different kind of peace. It's not a peace born of perfect circumstances, but a peace born of acceptance. That heartbreak, that professional setback, that moment you thought would break you, that physical ailment, viewed through the lens of impermanence, these are not permanent states of being. They are singular scenes, perhaps long or intense, but ultimately just scenes in the much larger unfolding story of your life. And critically, you are still writing that story. The scene doesn't define the entire narrative or determine the ending. Consider the analogy of the seasons. We experience spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Each has its characteristics, its beauty, and its challenges. Imagine if we hated winter so much we refused to acknowledge its existence, or tried to cling to summer indefinitely. It would be futile and exhausting. Instead, we accept the changing seasons as part of the natural cycle, preparing for each and appreciating what it offers while it is here, knowing it will eventually pass. Life's experiences are similar seasons. Periods of joy are like summer, warm, vibrant, full of life. Periods of difficulty are like winter, harsh, bleak, requiring fortitude and patience. Neither lasts forever. Embracing the temporary doesn't mean becoming passive or indifferent. It doesn't mean we don't feel pain or sorrow when we lose someone or something we value. Stoicism acknowledges these natural responses. The key is to recognize that the suffering that often accompanies these events is amplified by our judgment that the impermanence is inherently bad or unjust, and by our resistance to the reality of the change. When we accept that change is inevitable for all external things, we reduce the shock and the perceived injustice of it. We can still grieve a loss, but we do so without the added burden of demanding that life should have been different or that the person thing should have been permanent. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, constantly reminded himself of the fleeting nature of life and the world around him in his meditations. He contemplated the rapid succession of events, the rise and fall of empires, the temporary existence of individuals. This wasn't morbid. It was a practice to cultivate perspective, humility, and a focus on what truly mattered, his own character and actions. By regularly contemplating impermanence, a practice sometimes called memento mori, remembering you will die, and memento vivere, remembering to live, we are encouraged to make the most of the present moment and to invest our energy in things that are up to us and that have a more enduring quality. Our virtue, our understanding, our treatment of others. Practically embracing the temporary involves several things. First, mindful observation. Paying attention to the transient nature of experiences, both internal and external. Notice how even strong emotions eventually subside, how physical sensations change, how circumstances evolve. Second, non-attachment. Training ourselves to appreciate the good things without needing them to be permanent, and to endure the bad things without believing they will last forever. This is not about suppressing feelings, but about changing our relationship to them. Third, gratitude for the present. Recognizing that the good we have right now is precious precisely because it is temporary. This can deepen our appreciation for simple joys and meaningful connections. Ultimately, embracing the temporary is about aligning our expectations with reality. Life is a dynamic process of becoming, changing, and passing away. By accepting this fundamental truth, we loosen the chains of our desires and aversions that bind us to wishing things were other than they are. We find a spaciousness within ourselves that allows us to navigate the inevitable ups and downs with greater equanimity, recognizing that while the waves will always come and go, the ocean within us endures. This acceptance is not resignation, it is liberation. The freedom to live fully in the present moment, unburdened by the futile fight against the river of time. Number 2, patience and effort. We live in a world that worships instant results, where 2-day shipping feels too slow and a buffering video can spark frustration. We are conditioned to expect immediate gratification in many areas of life, from communication to consumption. This cultural current often makes the Stoic whisper of a different truth feel counterintuitive. The most meaningful and durable things take time, often a long time. Real progress, whether in skill acquisition, character development, or achieving significant goals, is rarely a sudden leap. It is typically a slow, incremental accumulation of consistent effort. Real strength, the kind that allows you to face adversity with composure and act with integrity, is earned through repeated practice and perseverance, not granted overnight. Stoicism places immense value on effort and diligence, not necessarily because they guarantee external success, which being external is not entirely up to us, but because the act of striving and the process of building are inherently virtuous and contribute to the development of one's character. Patience, in the Stoic sense, is not passive waiting. It is active endurance, the steady application of effort over time, fueled by reason and directed towards virtuous ends. It's the quiet persistence that keeps you moving forward, even when motivation fades, when results are slow to appear, or when obstacles arise. Patience isn't weakness or a lack of ambition. It's a profound strength. It is the steady internal fire that burns consistently, providing the energy needed for the long haul, even when the initial blaze of enthusiasm has died down. Think about building a strong foundation, whether for a physical structure or for your own character. It requires careful planning, consistent labor, and often digging deep before anything visible rises above the ground. Similarly, building resilience, wisdom, or any other virtue is a process of persistent effort, correcting mistakes, learning from experience, and repeatedly choosing the right course of action, even when it's difficult. The Stoics understood that external achievements, wealth, fame, status, are preferred indifference. They might be desirable, but they are not essential for a good life, and their presence or absence does not define your worth or happiness. What is essential, and what is entirely up to you, is the effort you put into cultivating your inner self and acting virtuously. Keep building. Keep showing up. This is the Stoic call to action for anyone pursuing self-improvement or working towards a worthy goal. Even if the results aren't immediately apparent, even if no one else is watching or offering praise, the effort itself is valuable. It is an affirmation of your commitment to your values and your belief in the process of growth. Epictetus, the former slave who became a prominent Stoic teacher, emphasized that our power lies in our will, our intention, and our effort. We cannot control whether our efforts will result in a specific external outcome, like winning a competition or getting a promotion. But we can control the quality and consistency of our effort. Focusing on the effort, which is within our control, frees us from the anxiety of outcomes, which are not. This perspective encourages a different kind of motivation. Instead of being solely driven by the desire for a particular result, we become motivated by the desire to act in accordance with reason and virtue, to do our best, to persevere in the face of difficulty. The reward becomes the process itself, the satisfaction of knowing you are applying yourself fully and building your internal strength. This is the true earning of strength. It's not a gift bestowed upon you when you achieve something, but a quality forged through the act of striving. Consider learning a new skill or overcoming a bad habit. Neither happens instantly. They require repeated practice, setbacks, and renewed effort. A musician doesn't become proficient after one lesson. They practice scales for hours. An athlete doesn't achieve peak performance without relentless training. Breaking a habit requires constant vigilance and repeated choices. In each case, patience is crucial. It's the understanding that progress is often measured in inches, not miles, and that setbacks are part of the journey, not reasons to quit. Stoicism teaches that obstacles are not simply impediments. They are opportunities to practice virtue and exercise our capacity for effort and patience. When faced with difficulty, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" the Stoic asks, "How can I use this to practice patience, courage, or resilience?" Every challenge becomes a training ground for strengthening the soul. In a world that champions quick fixes and highlights overnight successes, often ignoring the years of unseen effort that preceded them, embracing the Stoic path of patience and sustained effort is a quiet rebellion. It's choosing depth over speed, substance over superficiality, and inner integrity over external validation. It reminds us that the most robust and fulfilling achievements, both internal and external, are the fruits of dedicated, patient labor over time. Keep building your character, keep applying your best effort to what is within your control, and trust in the power of consistent action. The strength you seek is not waiting for you at the finish line. It is being forged with every step of the journey. Number 3, forgiveness and service. It's profoundly easy to become trapped in the labyrinth of pain, particularly the pain inflicted by the actions of others. We replay wrongs done to us, nurse grudges, and dwell on feelings of injustice, asking the perennial question, "Why me?" or "How could they?" This dwelling, while a natural response to hurt, often binds us more tightly to the past and to the actions of others, making us prisoners of events we cannot change. We become tethered to the very people or situations that caused us pain, allowing them to continue to exert control over our emotional state. Stoicism, however, invites us to look beyond this self-centered focus on our hurt and towards a broader perspective, one that encompasses both our own inner peace and our connection to the wider human community. The Stoic perspective on forgiveness is not primarily about absolving the other person of responsibility or condoning their actions. It is first and foremost an act of liberation for the self. To forgive, not because the other person necessarily deserves it, whether they do or not is outside our control and judgment is theirs or nature's, but because we deserve peace. Holding on to anger, resentment, and bitterness is like clutching a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. These emotions are corrosive. They eat away at our inner tranquility and distract us from focusing on what is truly important and within our power. From a Stoic viewpoint, people who do wrong act out of ignorance or mistaken judgment about what is truly good. They are guided by flawed impressions and beliefs, believing that their actions, however harmful, will somehow lead to their own perceived good, whether that's pleasure, power, or avoidance of pain. While this doesn't excuse their behavior or negate the harm caused, understanding this can foster a form of rational compassion. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, envious, insociable. They are like this because they cannot distinguish good from evil." He wasn't excusing them, but preparing himself to view their actions as stemming from their own flawed internal state, rather than taking their behavior as a personal affront that demanded his anger. Forgiveness, in this context, is the reasoned decision to release the desire for vengeance or retribution, and more importantly, to release the emotional burden of resentment. It is reclaiming your inner territory from the trespass of past hurts. It allows you to move forward, directing your energy towards constructive actions and cultivating your own virtue, rather than remaining fixated on the actions of others that are unchangeable. It is a powerful assertion of the Stoic principle that your inner state is ultimately determined by your own judgments and will, not by the external behavior of others. Beyond personal freedom from resentment, Stoicism also emphasizes our interconnectedness. We are all part of the same rational universe, fellow citizens of a global community. This concept of cosmopolitanism highlights our shared humanity and our natural duty to one another. To help others, not for recognition, praise, or external reward, which are outside our control and therefore indifferent, but because lifting someone else up is an act of virtue and aligns with our nature as social beings. Service, philanthropia, love of humanity is not a burden. It is a fundamental aspect of living a good Stoic life. When you shift your focus from dwelling on your own hurt or perceived injustices to finding ways to contribute positively to the well-being of others, something transformative happens. You rediscover your strength, not in the ability to defend yourself against perceived threats or to inflict harm in return, but in your capacity for compassion, generosity, and helpfulness. Engaging in service moves you out of a state of victimhood and into a state of active engagement with the world, guided by reason and virtue. It provides perspective, often revealing that your own struggles, while real, are part of a larger human experience of challenge and vulnerability. Acts of service don't have to be grand gestures. They can be as simple as listening attentively to a friend, offering a helping hand to a neighbor, volunteering your time, or simply treating everyone you encounter with kindness and respect. The key is the intention, acting out of a sense of duty and a desire to do good, aligning your actions with the virtues of justice and benevolence. Seneca, another prominent Stoic, wrote extensively on the importance of giving and receiving, emphasizing that the act of giving is often more beneficial to the giver, cultivating generosity and freeing them from the grip of greed or self-pity. When you shift your focus from hurt to healing, both your own and others, you engage in a virtuous cycle. By forgiving, you heal yourself from the toxic burden of resentment. By serving, you contribute to the healing and well-being of others, which in turn reinforces your sense of purpose and connection. This is not about altruism in the self-sacrificial sense, but about recognizing that our own flourishing, eudaimonia, is intimately connected with the well-being of the community of which we are a part. Living virtuously, which includes acts of forgiveness and service, is the path to genuine, robust happiness and a profound rediscovery of one's own inner strength and capacity for good in the world. It is a powerful reminder that even in the face of external wrongs, our internal power to choose compassion, forgiveness, and service remains intact and is a profound source of meaning and strength. Number 4, emotional mastery. Here's the fundamental truth that Stoicism places at the forefront of its practical philosophy. You won't always control what happens around you. The external world is largely indifferent to our desires and plans. Accidents happen, people behave in unpredictable ways, circumstances shift without warning. These events are not up to us. But you can always, with diligent practice and reasoned effort, control what happens within you. This is the domain of your judgments, your opinions, your desires, your aversions, and crucially, your response to the impressions that flood your consciousness. The Stoics believed that while emotions, pathos, are natural responses to impressions, it is our assent to the judgments contained within those impressions that causes suffering and disturbs our inner peace. The Stoics did not advocate for the suppression or denial of emotions. They were not proponents of becoming emotionless robots. Rather, they viewed emotions as messengers, signals that our judgments about external events might be askew. Anger, fear, sadness, these feelings arise based on our interpretation of what is happening. If we interpret an external event as a grave harm or injustice, which the Stoics would argue is a misjudgment because true harm can only be internal to our character, then anger or fear will follow. The Stoic path is about examining these impressions and the judgments tied to them before giving our assent, before allowing the emotion to dictate our response. Emotions come and go like the waves on the ocean. They don't define you unless you allow them to become your masters. Emotional mastery, therefore, is not about never feeling negative emotions, but about developing the wisdom and discipline to respond to them with reason rather than immediate, unthinking reaction. It's about pausing between the impression and the assent, between the stimulus and the response. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the core of emotional mastery in Stoicism. Understanding that our distress comes not from the external event itself, but from our judgment about the event. If someone insults you, the insult itself is just words, an external event. Your suffering arises from your judgment that being insulted is a terrible thing, that it diminishes your worth, or that the person shouldn't have insulted you. When you respond with wisdom instead of automatic reaction, you take back your power. This involves questioning your initial interpretations. Is this event truly bad or just inconvenient? Is this person truly malicious or simply mistaken or acting out of their own difficulties? Is this loss truly devastating or am I judging it based on flawed values, like equating my worth with my possessions or status? Every time you choose calm over chaos, reasoned reflection over impulsive reaction, you grow stronger. You reinforce your capacity for self-control and align yourself with reason, the highest human faculty according to the Stoics. Practical techniques for cultivating emotional mastery include examining impressions. When an event occurs or a strong emotion arises, pause and identify the underlying impression and the judgment you are making about it. Ask yourself, is this judgment accurate? Is it based on reality or my flawed expectations? Is this truly harmful to my character? The dichotomy of control. Constantly remind yourself of the distinction between what is within your control, your thoughts, judgments, actions, character, and what is outside of it, everything else. Emotional turmoil often arises from trying to control the uncontrollable. Negative visualization, premeditatio malorum. Regularly contemplate potential challenges, losses, and difficulties. By mentally preparing for things to go wrong, you lessen the shock if they do occur and appreciate what you have more deeply in the present. This practice helps to temper fear and anxiety. Reframing. Actively look for alternative perspectives on challenging events. Can this difficulty be seen as an opportunity to practice patience or resilience? Can I learn something valuable from this setback? Mindfulness and presence. Practice paying attention to the present moment without judgment. This helps you observe your thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them, creating space for a reasoned response. Emotional mastery is a lifelong practice, not a destination. There will be times when emotions feel overwhelming, when your initial reaction is unstoic. The goal is not perfection, but progress. Every instance where you pause, examine your judgment, and choose a reasoned response is a victory. It strengthens your inner citadel, making you less vulnerable to the whims of external circumstances and the unexamined impulses of your own mind. It is the ultimate form of freedom, the freedom from being a slave to your passions and external events. When you cultivate this internal control, you become unshakable, capable of maintaining your composure and acting in accordance with your values, no matter the storm raging around you. Number 5. Meaning and happiness. In the relentless pursuit of happiness, modern society often points us towards external destinations, accumulating wealth, achieving recognition, seeking pleasure, acquiring possessions, or attaining a certain social status. We are told that happiness is hidden in these external achievements, waiting for us just over the next hill of success. Yet experience and wisdom often show that even when these external goals are reached, the promised lasting contentment can remain elusive. The Stoic philosophy offers a profoundly different perspective. Happiness, eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or living well, isn't hidden in success, wealth, or praise, because these things are external and fleeting. It lives within, found not in fleeting pleasures or external validation, but in living a life guided by integrity, reason, and virtue. Stoicism teaches that the only true good is virtue, and the only true bad is vice. Virtue encompasses wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. These are qualities of character and action that are entirely up to us. We can choose in any circumstance to act wisely, justly, courageously, and temperately. External things, health, wealth, reputation, comfort, pleasure, are considered indifference. They are not good or bad in themselves. Some are preferred indifference, like health or moderate wealth, which are generally desirable when they don't compromise virtue. Others are dispreferred indifference, like sickness or poverty, which are generally undesirable, but still not true evils if they are endured with virtue. The foundation of genuine joy, according to the Stoics, is within. It resides in knowing that you stayed true to yourself, that is, true to your rational, virtuous nature, even when it was difficult, even when it meant foregoing external gains or enduring hardship. This internal alignment, this integrity, is the source of a deep and stable satisfaction that no external reversal can take away. While external pleasures are transient and dependent on circumstances outside our control, the contentment derived from living virtuously is robust and self-sufficient. When we stop chasing the ever-moving targets of external validation and start aligning our lives with our core values and the truth of our rational nature, we find something far better and more enduring than mere comfort or fleeting pleasure. We find meaning. Meaning comes from living a life of purpose, and for the Stoic, the highest purpose is to live in accordance with nature, both the rational nature of the universe and our own rational nature as human beings. This means using our capacity for reason to understand the world, to distinguish between good and bad, virtue and vice, and to act in ways that benefit ourselves and the wider community. Living in accordance with nature also implies accepting reality as it is, including its impermanence and the presence of challenges. It means fulfilling our roles and duties to the best of our ability, whether as a parent, a citizen, a worker, or a friend, guided by the principles of justice and wisdom. It is in this diligent application of our reason and our commitment to virtuous action, regardless of the external outcomes, that we find true fulfillment. Consider the person who dedicates their life to a cause they believe in, despite facing opposition and hardship. Their happiness or flourishing comes not from ease or external rewards, but from the profound meaning they derive from their efforts and the alignment of their actions with their values. This is a Stoic kind of happiness, a deep, abiding sense of purpose and integrity that transcends external circumstances. The pursuit of external things as the primary source of happiness makes us vulnerable. Our peace of mind becomes dependent on things we cannot control: the economy, the opinions of others, our health, the actions of fate. By placing our highest good in virtue, which is entirely within our power, we become masters of our own happiness. We can be virtuous whether we are rich or poor, healthy or sick, famous or unknown. This doesn't mean Stoics were ascetics who shunned all pleasure or comfort. They recognized preferred indifference could make life easier or more pleasant. But they did not equate these with happiness or virtue. The ability to enjoy them temperately when present and to be content without them when absent is part of Stoic training. The focus is always on maintaining internal freedom and moral integrity. Ultimately, the Stoic path to meaning and happiness is an inward journey. It is about cultivating a rich inner life governed by reason and virtue, and expressing that inner state through our actions in the world. It is about understanding what is truly valuable and directing our energy towards that. When we stop chasing external validation and start living authentically in accordance with our deepest principles, we discover a stable, profound sense of meaning and a happiness that is resilient to the unpredictable nature of life. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are living well, regardless of whether the external world agrees or offers its fleeting rewards. This is the true wealth, the true success, and the true path to flourishing. So if today feels heavy, if the weight of the world seems particularly burdensome, know this profound truth: you are not broken. The feeling of brokenness often comes from the belief that external circumstances or internal pain have permanently damaged you. But Stoicism teaches that your core, your capacity for reason and virtue, remains intact, capable of withstanding any external pressure. You are not defined by the difficulties you face, but by how you choose to respond to them. You are becoming. Every challenge you navigate, every setback you endure, every moment you choose wisdom over reaction, patience over impulse, and virtue over vice is shaping you. Every scar, every stumble, every moment of doubt overcome is not a mark of brokenness, but a testament to your resilience, forging you into someone stronger, wiser, more compassionate, and ultimately more unshakable. The storms of life are inevitable. They will come, they will rage, but they will also pass. Your task is not to prevent the storm, but to learn how to navigate it with inner composure. Let the storm pass over you, observing it without being consumed by it. Let your spirit rise above the chaos, finding its strength in reason, in virtue, and in the understanding that your inner peace is not dependent on the external weather. And if this message resonated with you, if the idea of finding strength within and navigating life with greater wisdom and resilience speaks to your current experience or your aspirations, consider joining this community. Subscribe. Stick with us, because your journey matters. The path of self-mastery can be challenging, and having fellow travelers makes the journey less daunting and more enriching. Sharing insights, offering support, and learning together strengthens everyone involved. And remember, you're not walking it alone. There are others seeking the same clarity, courage, and peace. Be still. Find the quiet center within yourself, the place where reason resides, undisturbed by the external noise and internal turmoil. Be strong. Cultivate the inner fortitude that allows you to face adversity, to act with integrity, and to persevere in the pursuit of virtue. Be stoic. Embrace the timeless wisdom of this philosophy, making its principles the foundation of your life. Understand what is truly within your control, accept what is not, and live a life of meaning, purpose, and unshakable inner peace. The power is within you.